everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is February 1st, 2021. We have a few kit announcements, we have a few kit releases, and then we have a few pieces of industry news that may or may not affect you depending on how you deal with your hobby. So we'll go into that industry news first. That would be, first of all, both of these things, depending on how you look at them, are just bad news for the traditional cranky old man hobbyist. So first off, Hobby Lobby announced formally that they will no longer be offering a single item 40% off coupon after the end of this month. So February 28th is the last day, which is funny because they're not open on Sundays. I think you're supposed to honor it till March 13th if you want to pretend to be completely clueless and obtuse about it. This has caused a great amount of wailing and gnashing of teeth online, of course, because I realize for a lot of you don't have hobby shops, and so for you guys, Hobby Lobby is a viable option. Oh, just one meow. Apparently, he's just checking in. Oh, nope. He doesn't like this topic either. So anyway, this past week they had a 40% off sale for the entire model, bin, if you will, and so it was no limit. Everything was 40% off, and I would expect them to do sales like that in the future more than likely. Hobby Lobby's entire market strategy and entire business model is basically convincing crazy old quilting crafty ladies to come into the store and buy stuff at manufacturer's suggested retail price by offering them 40% off one thing in the store. And unfortunately, a great number of middle-aged modelers also fell susceptible to this market strategy. Because the amount of people threatening to never shop at Hobby Lobby again, and that how Hobby Lobby is screwing them over and this, that, and the other thing, is pretty much a 50-50 split between cranky old white ladies on Facebook and cranky old men on forums. So, again, I get it if you don't have a hobby shop. For me personally, I'd very rarely ever bought kits at Hobby Lobby simply because my local hobby shop sells their stuff in enough volume that he places everything pretty much 40% off already. So for me, going to Hobby Lobby and buying something was really only going to save me somewhere between like 60 cents and maybe $1.50. And for me, that little extra bit of cash is worth the conversation, is worth keeping my local hobby shop open and not dealing with the evil megalomaniacal empire that is Hobby Lobby. Which has nothing to do with their religion and just how they try to use it as a quilt to deflect, COVID treatment and stealing antiquities and all the other crap that they've done in the past couple of years. So for me, this doesn't impact me at all. I find it irrelevant. I realize for a lot of you guys, it is a thing. My hope would be, Walmart, Target, name your local grocery store. They don't run 40% off sales in meat. They don't run 40% off sales on croutons at Walmart, right? The stuff is just priced at a reasonable price. Now, again, we go into the whole big box store, the people that make stuff for big box stores argument, we're not going to do that as far as their pricing strategy goes and crushing the competition, all that sort of nonsense. That's another discussion for another day. We're just talking about the fact that Hobby Lobby's model kits are priced at manufacturer suggested retail price. We did a whole video on this like 3 years ago. And the fact that you go in there with that 40% off coupon and you feel like you're saving money, but in fact, you're actually just paying what you should be paying in the first place. You're not really saving any money. Now, when things go on clearance and they blow things out the door for $8, fine, that's a sale. You can get excited about that. I don't blame you if there's stuff on the clearance rack that moves you. For me, again, I don't buy that much stuff domestically in the first place, so usually there's nothing really floating around that's like, if it was $8, I'd buy that, because I usually just, if I want it, we just recently bought the Mercury Comet and the 64 Belvedere. I just paid a regular price for them because I wanted those kits, even though the Comet kit for Mobius is what, 5 or 6 years old at this point. I think it's 5 since it was released. So again, I will pay to keep my local hobby shop doors open. One sort of side subject of this whole thing is model kits are so expensive and yada yada yada. It's a argument I don't want to hear anymore. But by buying at Walmart, by buying at at Hobby Lobby, I mean, Hobby Lobby and Walmart are two different time periods within the history of the recent hobby. But by constantly going in and trying to buy things as freaking cheaply as possible, you guys realize that that's why that you don't have a hobby shop anymore, right? There's a reason why your hobby shop couldn't stay open. Now, I don't necessarily mean you need to go support a guy who's intentionally screwing you, like a Hobbytown USA, where they charge you manufacturer suggested retail price for stuff. But at the same time, that need to save $1.50, yeah, that's part of the reason why your hobby shop doesn't exist anymore, because you didn't shop at your hobby shop until the guy didn't have enough business to stay open, and then you run around the internet and complain about how you don't have a hobby shop anymore. Well, gee, I wonder why. Um, to me, it's not the Hobby Lobby. To me, is not even that convenient. It's not open on Sundays, which is the one day a week where I'm actually functional, because Saturdays I'm usually trying to sleep off the week of work beforehand, and again, you're supporting, yeah, ugh, you're supporting hobby like that. So I guess the overarching statement to sort of close that out, other than support your local hobby shop, if you still have one, is hopefully they'll price stuff lower and you don't need the 40% off coupon. And I've seen a lot of people say that they don't care if they priced it 40% off, they still wouldn't shop there because they need that coupon. And you have to really wonder about the psychological problems of somebody who doesn't realize that if it doesn't cost you 40% more in the first place, you don't need a coupon for it. But again, that is the feeling that you're saving money when you're actually just paying what you're supposed to pay. I had this conversation on one of the forums, and somebody was like, "Well, I'd like to know the local hobby shop where you get stuff so cheap." And I was like, "Well, a whole bunch of people on here actually mail ordered 63 Nova station wagons from my local hobby shop, and you guys all paid like $22 for those, and they're box, the manufacturer suggested retail price on was 29, so you saved $7." And you felt good about saving that $7, except that $7 is the same $7 I'm saving by going into the brick and mortar store. I mean, we really, I'll speak for my local hobby shop guy, we really appreciate you keeping his lights on, but at the same time, eh. And the other thing I want to put into that thought, because it's one of the thoughts I had from the last time we talked about this subject, was how much are you really saving going to Hobby Lobby when some of the like really militantly Hobby Lobby people go to two or three of them looking for stuff, right? You've seen these people post on forums, you've seen these people post on Facebook where some new kit comes out. It's usually not something I've discussed because these people don't exist on my YouTube channel, thank God. But for the most part, these people like on a forum like, oh hey, this week that the 72 Racers wedge came out in hobby shops. Well, these people, because Hobby Lobby for like a couple of months this summer was carrying things a little in advance of brick and mortar hobby shops, which is probably not going to happen anymore, because obviously that's not how that's supposed to work. They're supposed to release them at the same time so that Hobby Lobby doesn't have a competitive advantage. You saw people like, oh, I drove to like my 5 local hobby lobbies and I couldn't find any. How much time and gas did that take? Like, when you sort of sit there and think about it, like, I have 5 Hobby Lobbies close to me. It would take me like 5 hours to drive between all 5 of them, and they're all about 30 miles, 45 miles away from each other, which here in Pittsburgh, because of mountains and hills and tunnels and things like that, means it's pretty much like an hour between them all. Um, how much is my time worth? How much money did I spend in gas? Gas here last night was $2.69 a gallon. So, like, wouldn't have going on eBay or Model Roundup or, you know, I'm trying to think what the heck that place is down in Georgia that everybody buys from. Like, just was in my head now. I think it's Fun Time Hobbies or something like that. At any rate, how much would paying the shipping from a place like that have saved you over driving around all day? Now I realize that's like the fun of the thrill of the hunt and all of that, but yeah, my time is worth something to me, and I'm not going to spend all day on a Saturday driving all over God's creation looking for a model kit. I could just buy online and save the time, the energy, the fuel mileage, the wear and tear of my vehicle, and it comes straight to my house, and I don't have to go anywhere. So yeah, there's that. The other big piece of industry news, and we're going to link directly into the description a link to the press release for this, is that round 2 has been partially acquired, if you will. It's partnered with is really the words that is correct for this, a company called Praesidian Capital. They are a investment firm out of the great city of New York, and they have purchased from Tom Lowe 51% of the company. This will be what you see in other news articles about this. The Cult TV Man has one that's very wordy. That's it's a lot of opinion piece to it as well. That says they've been purchased by Praesidian Capital. I've seen a few articles in hobby publications say acquired by Praesidian Capital. They bought 51% of the company. We'll get into that in half a second. But it's not, they didn't purchase. It's not an outright purchase. This investment firm does not own Round 2 in the same way that Blitz owns Revell US, right? They didn't purchase the whole thing. They bought a controlling share of it. Now, a public company, your Procter & Gamble, your Walmarts, your, Hewlett-Packard, your whatevers, they issue stock and you buy it, and that's how they raise money, right? This piece of paper is one share of this company, 1/10 of 1% of this company, and it costs $35, and that they take that $35 and they spend it on new printers or the latest gigag or doohickey-majog at the electronics department at Walmart. And a lot of things you may have seen if you were paying attention to like financial news on like big news networks where they talk about financial things in big broad strokes to, that are not in depth. You'll see a lot of people hate it when they buy back stock because it drives the share price up and they're just doing this to manipulate the market and blah, blah, blah. Well, when they buy back shares, that means the company owns more pieces of the company every time they buy back shares. Yes, it does drive the stock up. Yes, it does make people in the company rich. Yes, you could argue that it's not the greatest thing in the world if they're not passing along those. They could have spent that money on something else like salaries or something like that. Totally agree. Not going to get into an argument about capitalism right now. But having bought back those shares of the stock, that means that company, at some point, if they want to acquire another company or they want to plunge a lot of money into research and development and not take out like loans from a bank or something like that, they can then reissue those shares back out into the stock market, and people will buy them, and then they will get their money back again in a second time. A private company, Round 2, Revell, Mobius, which technically is Pegasus at this point, and all the rest of those, they're private companies. They don't issue stock. The only way you can raise capital and basically get money without going to the bank and going, hello, Mr. Banker, I'd like to pay 95% interest on a short-term loan for this new piece of tooling that I want to do, is to have someone invest into the company and gain fractional shares of ownership. And obviously, if you want a big New York company to invest in you, you're not going to sell them 5% of the company. They want a controlling asset of it so that they own it in the sense of they control it. Now, the important thing to think of when you're thinking about a 51% ownership share is this is very similar to how the Senate of the United States works right now, right? There's one person that sways it one way or the other, and if the last few months have taught us anything, it's the fact that having that 50-50 split is not a kumbaya in any stretch of the imagination, and even having the 1% owners, 1% share doesn't necessarily make it a happy day in the park, as it were. That means that Tom Lowe, probably at any point in time in this whole thing, can go to Praesidian and go, hi, here's $500,000. I want my 1% back, so that he's nominally in control of the company. Most investments like this, if it's not a distressed asset, like it's not an investment company buying out Kmart, Sears, which is imploding into the ground, and they just want to buy real estate. Like Sears owned a lot of real estate. That was one of the reasons why they would have been an attractive investment. They own all of these anchor things in malls. Of course, COVID has pretty much finalized the death of the malls that was already occurring, but there was a tangible asset for which you're purchasing. Now we know that when an asset is distressed, vis-a-vis Revell being sold at auction a couple years ago, that those assets, the actual assets of the company, being the tooling, they're worth about $50,000, and actually the company's trademarks are worth more than the actual physical assets. I'm not sure how many people want a building in an industrial park in the north side of South Bend, for example. Like, how much is that really technically worth? And of course, with Revell, they didn't even actually own the Oak Grove property; they just leased it. So, there's your overarching thing, right? You want to raise money as a private company. You have to sell the company to something, and Praesidian Capital is not a turn, burn, and dump investment firm for the most part. I'm not saying that they've never done that. I'm not saying that they have ever not done something that in some way impacted the company that they purchased. But they tend to be something known as patient capital, which is where you invest money and you're looking for a long-term return on that money. One of the biggest things that Praesidian Capital owns that you may recognize just off the top of your head is Planet Fitness. They have owned Planet Fitness as the controlling, force behind Planet Fitness for the past 15 years. And I'm thinking for most of us, if round two can exist for another 15 years, until what, 2036? Well, that'll pretty much do it for all of us, right? I mean, 15 years from now, I'm 58. How much longer am I really going to be alive? Eh, you know. Uh, but again, long-term investment. Here's something I want you guys to consider. The new International Transtar of the old International Transtar 4070A fame. That is a 300 plus part model kit. It is a completely newly tooled 300 piece part model kit, no matter how they got there, right? It doesn't matter if they went from a ground up design with no basis in reality or they 3D scanned the old model kit, because frankly, 3D scanning the old model kit, when they put it together, we talked about this when it was announced, well, it didn't really fit together all that well, and they had to make a whole bunch of adjustments to it anyway, so in the end, it really didn't matter how they got to the actual tooling. But with the cost of tooling being what it is, and shipping and everything else, you basically can get a quote per cavitation when you're talking about injection molding. Like, this is going to cost you $2,000 per cavitation. Remember, there's 2 cavitations to every single piece of model, right? One side, the other side, and they meet in the middle. So the price tag on that International Transtar, bringing it to market, is somewhere around $750,000, more or less. That's a lot of money to invest into something that you hope you get your money back from. Model kits, injection molded model kits, are very much a patient capital game. You're putting a lot of money into something on the front side, because the tooling companies, they want their money now. They don't care about when you're going to get it. They want their money now. It's my money and I want it now. So if Revell, or not Revell, but round two has, X amount of dollary dues in a bank account that they do this stuff with, and they just take a huge shovel, $750,000, and throw it at China to finish this kit up, there's a lot less money in that room, obviously. And what being invested from, in the sense, is a huge amount of money, tens of millions of dollars, are going to be thrown at round two, and they can then take that money and invest it in other things. You may have seen the video they did a series of videos for 2021 plans, but the plastic model one, we didn't cover here on the channel because it literally, for the automotive side of things, told us absolutely nothing. Like, none of the kits they talked about are things that either are not out right now or will not be coming out in the next couple of months. But one key thing from that was they have a brand new Star Wars license. Now, I know for the car guys, or a certain subset of the car guys, they think that's the worst thing in the world, because that means they'll make more sci-fi kits. And every sci-fi kit they make is more cars that we don't have, even though they don't realize it's one big company and one big coffer. And if sci-fi makes a lot of money, that means they have more money to spend on everything. But they also did mention that they do plan to make more new tooling in cars as well on their side of the press release for this purchase, or this investment. But that Star Wars license, guys, one of the biggest things, if you're not broadly into the hobby, one of the biggest things that Star Wars collectors, Star Wars builders want right now are ships and things like that from the Mandalorian TV series. Now, Jamie said that they plan to bring back some of the old Star Trek tooling from the 1970s, and update it and fiddle with it a little bit and improve it, and then also do new tool Star Wars stuff. Now, if they can get Mandalorian stuff out prior to Bandai, or at least in conjunction with Bandai, I don't mean sharing it, but I just mean at the same time, and can control the North American market share. Remember, Bandai's not at Hobby Lobby, but round two is. That's a license to print money. But they need that money up front to buy the printing press, if you will, right? For the Transtar, it's going to take about 19,000 Transtars to get sold in order for them to just break even on that tooling at what the wholesale price is going to be on those. So I believe they'll sell 19,000 of them. I believe that they could probably sell 19,000 of them in the United States without even shipping them outside of the United States. But whether that's 10,000 Transtars and then 9,000 Coca-Cola Transtars, or 10,000 or 9,000 Transtars and then 5,000 Transtars with a trailer, and then 5,000 Transtars as Coca-Cola, however that all breaks down, it's still 19,000 units you need to move. Amortization of tooling is really something when you have more than one thing you can issue from the tooling, in the sense of like the 68 Chevelle and the 69 Chevelle from Revell, both being from the same piece of tooling. So that was 2 completely separate model kits, but at the same time you were able to just pay one tooling bill. The TranStar, unless they've, and they could have, we'll find out at some point, I guess. Unless they tooled the TranStar 4070A to also be a 4070B, which is a completely different front end. So basically, you need a whole new front tooling core for that. Then you're sort of reissuing the same thing a bunch of times, and there's a diminishing return of investment on that. Think about the 77 Ford van, right? It came out as a 77 Ford van, and then it came out as a 77 Ford van, and then it has Coca-Cola tie, and now it's a surfer's van. It's this, it's that, it's the other thing. And the question does come down to how many gigas can you throw into something before people stop purchasing it, right? Like if I'm looking at 77 Ford vans, just as an example, the one that I want the most is the Coca-Cola one because it has the vending machines, and in my mind, I need those vending machines for a diorama. I would not buy the other three because I don't need three of the same kit. I'm literally buying this one only because it comes with these vending machines. Otherwise, I probably would not buy a 77 Ford van at all. So, putting out the TranStar in like a Nestle boxing and a Coke boxing and a regular boxing, and let's see who else they have a license from right now, and a Hot Wheels licensing. That there's only so many of those you're going to be able to move just with putting different sets of decals into them. A lot of people lament the Coke kits. Oh, they're just reissuing something with the Coke kit. They're selling the Coke kits at a market of Coke collectors, right? They're not selling them to you. If you happen to buy one, that's awesome, but you're not the audience for that. You're going to buy the other kit, and the two audiences being separate enough are going to sell enough to justify the reissues in each of their cases. If they put out 2,500 Coke vans, 2,500 Coke collectors are going to buy those before 2,500 modelers will, is basically the gist. So this all sounds good, right? I mean, hey, round two has a whole bunch of new money. They can invest it in sci-fi, and that'll pay for cars, or invest it in cars, that'll pay for the sci-fi, or however that accounting behind the scenes works, and this is all a good thing. Except on the forums, where it was a shit show, obviously, where everyone somehow feels that an investment firm buying a model company is the worst thing that could ever happen because of all the times in the past that hasn't worked out. And when people say dumb, stupid things like that, that makes me wonder how much history into the ownership of model companies they really understand, because a lot of people compare this investment by this investment company to what happened at around when Racing Champions bought out AMT Ertl. Seem to understand the fact that Racing Champions was a company. It was a company that bought another company. Yeah, sometimes that doesn't work. And in that case, Racing Champions wanted the diecast market. They wanted the NASCAR collectibles business that AMT Ertl had at the time. And they didn't care about the model cars. They didn't know how to run a model car company. They had never done models in the past. Why would they care? It was just something that came with the thing. A lot of times when you see a trucking company get sold to another trucking company, they are buying the list of customers and the contracts to haul freight. They don't care about the drivers. They don't care about the equipment. They don't care about the building it's all in. They want that business that the company has. They don't care about any of the rest of that. They are literally buying the business assets, if you will, of that company. Same sort of thing with when Racing Champions bought. They didn't care about the model company. They could have took those tools out of the parking lot and ran them over with a cement mixer. Nobody would have cared, at least from Racing Champions aspect. That wasn't what they bought the company for. And 2020, everything being full circle, Racing Champions is now owned by Round 2. So, how the hell did that work out? I saw some people say, well, they should have sold it to Revell because Revell's in the hobby. They would have known what to do with another company in the hobby. Did we miss the part where Revell is owned by an investment company? Because that only happened 4 years ago, this spring. I'm pretty sure they're owned by an investment company. And you could say that maybe Blitz isn't doing as much with the Revell US as you hope they would do, but I'd like to point out that Revell US didn't do a whole lot to begin with, right? They only put out a couple of new toolkits a year, maybe 3 modified reissues a year, and then everything else they put out was just reissues of stuff. Maybe the volume isn't necessarily there, or maybe there's not nice little quarterly, emails about what they're going to release, and there aren't little monthly flyers about what's coming out now, but they're still in business, despite what a lot of people said. I still, every now and then I come across somebody that says Revell is out of business and went bankrupt, and it's like, dude, that was 4 years ago. They just 3D scanned a 71 Mustang, for Christ's sakes. What do you mean they're out of business? And then the people started coming out of the woodwork. Hey, so round 2 is going to close, and you should buy all the models that you can because clearly this is going to be a failure. What? Dude, seriously. And I called that guy out. And then he proceeded to tell me, well, you might have misinterpreted what I said, and what I really meant was. I'm like, no, 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 no. You had a hot take. You stick with that hot take. One of the biggest things that has completely and totally annoyed me with the last couple of years of discourse in this country is that if you have a stance, stand behind it. Like, you can say whatever you want to about Donald Trump, whether you love him, hate him, or you're somewhere in between. But that man, like, he took a stupid stance. He stood behind it and rode it to the end. Even if it did mean the end of democracy in this country, he was gonna stand by what he thought, even if it was stupid. Like, if you're gonna claim that this purchase means that round two is going to close in the next 2 years, which is what this guy basically said, and that we should all rush out and buy model kits, probably at Hobby Lobby with the coupons before they go away, then stand by it. Don't get confronted by somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, and then proceed to be like, no, 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 you misunderstood me. That's the apology for being offensive, that you say, I'm sorry you were offended, not I'm sorry I said an offensive thing, right? It's your fault for misinterpreting what I said, even though what I said was clearly a 2-sentence statement, and I literally said, go now while you still can. Like, so yeah, I mean, if you're that intent on killing the hobby, like, this is one of those things, again, it's been going on since I was a kid. I know some older folks that are 50s, 60s to say that it's been going on since they were kids in the 1970s. Cool, man. Just take that statement and ride it to the ground. The hobby's dying. You don't care. There's not any model kits don't get made outside the United States, and because Mobius hasn't released anything in like months, and Revell hasn't released anything in a few months, and Round Two's just reissuing all this crap with Coca-Cola decals, and it costs too much anyway. Okay, cool. Just ride that into the ground, because you're wrong, and you might as well just really embrace how wrong you are. Just be wrong until you leave this earth, because trying to flip-flop is annoying and hypocritical, among a few other choice words that I won't say. I don't understand. At least this reminds me of like the way out there. I'm gonna mention religion here. People get offended, but too bad to deal with it. Those way out there Bible bangers that are like, "Oh, the world's coming to an end any day now, and I'm so happy." Okay, cool. Go die, and the rest of us who aren't ready to go yet, we'll just keep on living our lives, because you've been threatening that the world has been coming to an end since religion was started. And that's not even Christian religion. That's all religion, right? There has to be an end to the religion. So every religion has an end time story, and you all been saying that for thousands of years, and everybody was convinced of it thousands of years ago is dead, but we're all still here. So yeah, could it? Sure. I mean, an asteroid could hit the world tomorrow. It just won't be here anymore. The Earth could stop turning. We'll all float off. But in the long-term perspective, your excitement to die doesn't necessarily reflect well, because all of us aren't really that excited to go yet. So the hobby's going to die. Yeah, it may, but it's not going to die right now or because of this. So stop it. You create panic. Sometimes I wonder if these people are in place by like modeling wholesalers, right? Oh, I got like a whole bunch of these trick trike things back here, and now, man, what if we convince everybody the hobby is dying? We'll come rush in here and buy these real quick. But the hobby's not dying, and this is not. I mean, could it end up in the end being something we look back in 5 to 10 years and go, "Wow, Praesidian Capital came in and wrecked round two, and that was really a shame." Yeah, it could be, or it could be, hey, the last 5 years with Praesidian Capital, we've really seen a lot of new tools. Round two's bought a company or two along the way. Probably not modeling, but collectibles wise, the Round two's become a bigger company. They're more influential. I mean, really, right now, unless you talk about Salvino's and their one kit a month NASCAR thing, Round two is the only company in the United States out of the 4 of them that issues a bunch of model kits every single month, right? They're the biggest model company in the country at this point. Whether you like it or not, they've become, by acquiring Hawk and Lindbergh and NPC and Polar Lights and all that, they've become, the biggest model company. And for somebody who's looking to invest into a collectibles company, hey, that's a pretty good deal. They're the biggest one. Why would we invest in Pegasus because they're a hobby shop that owns a couple of model companies? Or we can invest in the largest model company there is that has their own mail order company, Auto World. And yeah, this looks like a good long-term investment. Let's go with that. Tom Lowe, for people who don't realize, the guy who owned, is the CEO and founder of Round Two. His dad invented cat litter, basically. And they're originally from Virginia. His background, his education, and his initial work experience was in finance. The reason why round two's in Indiana and not in Virginia is because he worked out of Chicago for many years. Familiar with that part of the country. Um, the guy's not an idiot. He's not some country bumpkin. He's got more money than probably everybody watching this YouTube video has. And in that, he's not a moron. He knows exactly what he's doing with in terms of the finances of this deal. If they sell it, him having first right of refusal as far as buying the company back and all those sort of things. Everybody just calm down and see where this is going. If we go look back at this in a couple years and I'm wrong and y'all come back and tell me how wrong I was or how wrong everybody who's attached to round two in one way or another, who's basically been trying to steer this ship down the road instead of having careen off into the rocks every time somebody's like, oh my God, round two's gonna close. Because, hey, remember Revell going bankrupt? Who owned Revell when they went bankrupt? Wasn't it Hobbico? Wasn't that a great big conglomerate of hobbies? Yeah, sometimes it's not about who owns the company, it's how they run that company. And I think that having Tom Lowe still be in charge of round two will pretty much take care of the running the company part. So, yeah, we'll see where this all goes, but don't listen to the whining and the screaming of the hobby is dead guys, because there's a large portion of me at this point wishes the hobby would just die, not maliciously, but just like, okay, so there's no more US model kits, now what? Like, what is your end goal with the hobby is dead? Because for the rest of us who actually are involved in the hobby, that would suck. And if you're not involved in the hobby to the point where you want it to be dead so that you can take a victory lap around the building about how right you were that the hobby is dead, like, now what do you get to complain about for the next 30 years? Because, okay, the hobby's dead. Great. I mean, I'm still going to buy model kits because there'll still be Nunu and the Oshima, Fujimi, and Tommy and all those companies. What is the ultimate goal of the hobby is dead? Is it a long-term play on being right? Or you just don't buy models, you don't build models, and you have absolutely no purpose whatsoever being on forums other than to sit there and be the person who complains about every miserable thing in your life, trying to drag everyone down with you. Bet you that one's it. So anyway, let's take a look at the model kits for this week. New Hobbies has announced the latest version of their BMW M6 GT3, and it is going to be the PlayStation liveried car from the 24 Hours of Nuremberg in 2016. Waiting to see if maybe there aren't some changes made to this as far as what the livery is going to be. If they are, I will promptly take credit for them. If it's not, I'm not going to mention it. So stay tuned for that. But just another version of the M6 with a different set of decals, so some tooling amortization there. And then we also got the announcement of the February kit from Salvino's JR, which is this, the Junior Johnson Racing 1986 Chevrolet Monte Carlo. This is the Neil Bonnet-driven car, the twin car to the number 11. Another Budweiser-sponsored car. So, again, Salvino's, because they say, if somebody said, well, it's 18 years or older, that's why they get away with it. Yeah, it's an adult collectible in that sense, but still, 18 years old, you can't drink. That's still shilling alcohol to vulnerable young people. In fact, they don't sell these in big box stores. That's why Salvino's isn't in, like, Hobby Lobby and Walmart, because they couldn't sell the product there. They wouldn't be allowed to. So they sold it through direct, obviously. They have that Model of the Month Club thing that they do as well, and then, of course, they're in your local hobby shop. So, again, I say this is a short track. Looks like it's Martinsville. Could be north of Wilkesboro, maybe Richmond, but it's definitely not a super speedway from the looks of things, especially since the car has a very short track body to it with that big air deflector underneath the front bumper, and all the vents are open, which would obviously all be taped off on a super speedway. So, another option for you is another aero back version of the Monte Carlo. So there will be that. On the kit releases, we do have a couple things here domestically. So from round two, speaking of the devil, first up you have this, which is a reissue of the 1953 Studebaker in its U.S. Postal Service collector's tin. There's going to be a series of these done. So far, we've seen the box art or the tin art to two of them. The other one should be coming in probably March, April. And this is basically the same 1953 Studebaker that it's always been. It was reissued not too horribly long ago in that Mr. Speed salt flat version. This kit's been more or less the same since the 1960s, and that continues here. The box, what comes in the box is on the bottom of the tin, so even though it's a tin, they still kept that thing. Know that this is pricing out at about $35 to $37. So it's about $10 more than a normal round two kit for the metal box that it comes in, and this is basically a recreation of the Postal Service's artwork. So that's the $10 is in the metal and in the licensing there. But there, I said, there'll be more of those coming as time goes along, and the other one's not a not very much more of an interesting subject matter. We'll just leave it sit there until it comes out. And then the other release is this, the 1972 Chevrolet in the Racer's Wedge pickup. So this is a 2-in-1. We mentioned it before. You can just build a straight 72 Chevrolet pickup truck out of this, and then, of course, it comes with this really odd car hauling body thing going on here. And why I say it's really odd is if you look at any period racing wedges, if you will, from the era, they're built on 1-ton trucks with a dually rear axle. This is 2 rear axles, not 2 tires on a heavy-duty axle. At least from pictures I've seen of original versions of this kit, you get a whole nother like axle with a differential that you just glue onto the chassis over top of the spare tire to get that second axle back there. There's a buildup of this online from everybody's favorite buildup guy. I'm not going to advertise for because I personally am not a big fan, but you know who he is, and you can go look at it, and you can see if you, I don't know, go around the fact that he builds everything in 5 minutes, it's also just looks like a lump. It's just not a very good model in that format because it's a 1972 toy, basically, what it works out to be. This is back when models still were $1. Not a lot of money was being invested into them. When somebody went, hey, let's throw a race hauling thing onto the back of that pickup truck, we'll just toss another axle into it, and that's what we wound up with. I'm saying you could take that racing wedge and you could modify the sides to not have a dual axle opening and put it onto something more appropriate. More than likely, use the sides as a template to cut some sheet plastic into a different shape, and then use the rest of the wedge deck and everything else for that purpose. The idea that looks like a 72 GTO on the back of that thing would have broken that pickup in half the way that it's set up. There's no way in the world that pickup truck has the payload capacity to haul a nearly 4,000 pound car around on. Sorry, you just never could convince me of that because this is not a towing thing. That pickup truck might be able to tow 4,000 pounds, but its payload capacity, what it can hold on its suspension, sure as crap ain't no 4,000 pounds. So, I know a lot of people will want this because it's, this was something that's been a very desirable kit, and I totally get that point of it, but as a practical thing, I don't get it. It's a very interesting piece of nostalgic history, and that about covers it for me as far as on the purchase aspect of that. No. So, overseas, we'll cover this because this should be out globally at this point, and that is the 112 scale Ford GT40 from Meng. So this kit has had detractors and a few fans. There seems to be a lot of controversy, if you will, about the front fender shape and whether or not this model kit's worth what they want for it and things like that. If you go to Hobby Easy, which is the Hong Kong-based retailer that we always recommend, this kit is selling for $232 prior to shipping. I don't know what the shipping cost would be. I didn't put it in a cart. There's a pre-painted version of this, which is basically the same car except it's already done. You just put it together. That's going to be like $400. The Meng kit, or the Trumpeter kit, yes, is like, what, $169? And a lot of people will point out, well, that Magnifier kit was like $70. The Magnifier kit was not supposed to be released globally. That was supposed to be a Hong Kong, Macau, and mainland China only release. That was a under-the-table, locally run, that's why the car is not licensed. It has no Ford things about it. I don't know who in their bright idea decided to ship that worldwide, because my hobby shop has one. I don't know if there would ever be any fallout from that, because of course it's China, and how do you sue anybody over there? But yeah, that wasn't really supposed to be something to get. I'm kind of wondering how many of those actually got run off at this point, because the Trumpeter one did get reissued right before Christmas. But who bought it? If you wanted one, you would have bought the Magnifier one for half as much. So, yeah. It is sort of what it is in that sense. You either like this or you don't, and you're either going to buy it or you're not. And I realize that it's a huge asking price, and I'm not recommending anybody buy it directly. There are several parts of this that are way, way better than the Trumpeter one, and several parts that don't seem to be quite up to Trumpeter standards, which is really bad. So, because Trumpeter standards, on cars are not exactly what anyone strives for. So, yeah, it's there and it's out, and if you don't want to get one through if you wanted to get one through Hong Kong, you probably already have it, because this has been out for a couple of months, but it's now distributed in Japan and everywhere else. So, yeah, if you want to pay full price of right around $400 for it, no, you can't. Like I said, pre-painted one should come out next couple of months, and it is $400 from the jump in Hong Kong. That'll take us to Aoshima, which we have one kit release, no, two kit releases this week. Again, just reissues finishing out January. First up, you got this, the Liberty Walk Laurel Works, the Liberty Walk 130 Laurel. So, is what it is. Run that reissue of that kit. And then also the reissue of the 2006 Daihatsu Koppen in its 4-in-1 edition. This is technically what they call the Ultimate Edition, but you can build the 10th Anniversary, the Ultimate Edition, or the Ultimate Edition 2, as well as the export version. So this does come with a left-hand drive dashboard. It's got 2 sets of wheels, I think 3 grills, 2 sets of seats, 2 sets of steering wheels. You could build pretty much every single Koppen other than like the tuner versions. All the factory stock ones are in this one box. So it's just coming back around again, kit 19. It's probably been 2 years since that was put into the model car line, but it is back out again. Over at Hasegawa, got a couple of reissues again to finish out the end of January. First up, you have the Honda Civic SIR2 or the SIR2, factory stock Honda Civic EG6. So and that's back out again. And then the last kit from January, the Datsun Bluebird 1600 Triple S with 60s resin girl figure. And very disappointingly, she has all of her clothes on. No. So this is a 1960s Japanese type figure sculpt. She is permanently leaning against your car as far as the pose goes. The kit itself is absolutely nothing different with it than any of the other ones. What is very interesting about this is this kit, at least to me, and I will admit to being red brown colorblind, appears to be like a forest green on the box, or maybe a light brown, something in that range of colors. The instructions say to paint it red. Have I gone crazy? Is that red? Is this one of these trick things? Like, is the dress blue or gold? Because that definitely does not look red to me, and I'm pretty good on my reds. Like, if I hold a can of Italian red up next to that doesn't at all look red to me. The kit itself is molded in like a really, really dark brown or a black. It's hard to tell because they take pictures at Hobby Search with like all the flash in the world, so it's kind of hard to tell. But it appears to be the same color as the rest of the kit plastic. So the rest of the kit plastic is black, so I'm assuming that it is black. You know what? While we're sitting here thinking about it, let's go look that up. But yeah, it's certainly not red by any stretch of the imagination. So let's see here. Spoiler, where did you go? There you are. Body parts are dark green. Yeah, okay. So it is a very, 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 very dark green in the box. It's almost a black. It's certainly not even that light of shade of green, but yeah. So it is green, not red. Don't know why the instructions tell you to paint it red, but moving right along, I have 2 more things to talk about here, and they are some new hobby releases. So first up, you have this, which is the reissue of the ST-165 Toyota Celica GT4 rally car. This is in the 1991 Tour de Course FINA livery. I believe this car finished 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. Don't have that written down anywhere, but anyway, it is what it is. Reissue of their ST-165s. Haven't seen those come out for a while. Those were some of the first kits that B-Max did. So this is, of course, the old B-Max kit. I think the front aero fans on this might be new. I don't have all 3 of the old Celicas. I only have 2 of them. And I'm not sure the aero fan is on any of those. But if they are not new, then they probably may have been in the kit the whole time. And then that comes with its own individual PE set specifically for this, because of course, like anything new has to, and B-Max has to make a PE set for every single thing that they do. And then the other kit is this, the 1988 24 Hours of Spa winning BMW M3 from 1988. You can build both team cars here. The Boxcar car is the winning car, but it does include the livery for the other car as well. So this is sort of a combination of parts, right? It's got the earlier Group A style front bumper and rear spoiler. It's got the BBS mesh rims compared to the BBS monoblocks that the DTM car has. The livery is more or less the same as the original kit's livery because it's the Schnitzer stripes, because that's what they just run on all of their cars pretty much, still even to this day, a variation of them. And pretty much it's a new livery. Now, there are a few new pieces added to it. There are a set of road lights for the grill, or at least there should be. They're not sure on the box art, but I believe they're in the kit. For the night lights, and then there are a set of 6 teeny weeny little placard lights, because on the 24 Hours of Spa cars, before they had the photo luminescent number boards that we use today, had little teeny weeny like license plate lights mounted on the top and on the sides of the placards to light them up at night so you could tell what number where the car was. So it has 6 of those, one for each of the doors, and then the roof has those as well. And yeah, I mean, it's is what it is on that. Now, there is, of course, a PE set for this car as well. And it's pretty much basic, same one that they've always had in their E3, their M3. I mean, this is 24008, so I think technically this is just a repop of the old B-Max one with a new label stuck into it. Or they may have actually put a couple of the new pieces in here. It's hard to tell. I'd have to compare the ones that I have together. But at any rate, the main reason you want to buy one of these, the PE set, is because that livery on the box is not quite the entire livery. This car also had a Bastos tobacco livery on it as well, that is clearly not shown on the box art, and you have to dig through Chinese language pictures, and I'm just going to show you a picture of the real car because that's far easier, to find the fact that there is this tiny sheet of decals in here with all the Bastos liveries on them. They are the new style, new tobacco liveries where you get a B and then the underlines of all the letters, then you have to spell the rest of the words. So, yeah, it is what it is, but at least the livery is in there. But you do have to, again, buy the PE set to get that accomplished. So anyway, guys, that wraps up this week. Hopefully we've, I don't know, eased your mind a little bit about the fact that Round 2 is not closing its doors tomorrow. I can't do anything about your 40% off coupon, and yeah, maybe next week will be better for everybody. Hope you guys had a great weekend, and we'll see you guys on the other side.